Wow. I didn't even hit play. Whoops. Well, anyway, as I am sitting at this piano, I have done some thinking while I was in bed, which is something that I do in the morning. I do follow the spiritual advice that Laura gave me, where I talk to God in the morning, the universe, the creator, uh, the Holy Spirit, the great magnificent being of all, whatever you choose to identify him as. It's this essence of creation that you speak to. And so as I was talking to the Heavenly Father, and I thought to myself about all the things that I have learned, and then it's brought me to this place where I don't feel the need to cling to people. And it feels nice. Like, it feels really nice. Because, like, I grew up feeling rather lonely. And I grew up feeling bad about myself because I've gotten so accustomed to thinking that I had no talents. Nothing to really be proud of in a humble way. Nothing to feel good about. And I thought to myself that the reason why I felt the way that I did was because I defined my life by another person's lens. And, oh, don't mind me. It's like I just woke up an hour ago. But I defined myself by expectations of another person, that I thought that my path should be determined by somebody else, that it should lead me somewhere that makes them happy, and if I could gain their, validation or their approval, then it would mean that I was worth being loved. And that is a dangerous way of thinking, because when you're a child, you very much do put your parents on a pedestal, because it is by design that children are obedient to their authority figures. But if their authority figures are not healthy, then it's to the detriment of the child. And this is where you get a victim victimizing yet another victim. And in this world, we see these systems of victimization happen all the time as we age. And our lenses become more distorted and warped, by the negativity that we experience. And what happens is that a person can become so much stronger just because they look at where they've been and they say, I've been there. I know what it's like. This is who I am now. Where can I go? That's in a positive direction. And not many people can think that way, because negativity is very sticky. It's a very sticky energy. And Allura said that. So if anybody follows Allura Cian on YouTube, at Metamystics, I think her channel is still Metamystics with Allura Cian. She said that negativity sticks more so because of the quality of its vibration, being it's so heavy and sticky, than, the lighter, more ethereal feelings like happiness, bliss, just the feel-good stuff. And we lose out on our human experiences when we let negativity define who we are, and we still lose out if we only define our lives by the positive things that happen. You need the duality of things to come together to paint a complete picture of the human experience in your personal journey. And then when you get together with a group of people, all your collective stories coalesce together to make a greater picture. And the struggle of humankind is very much one of these very bitter and cyclical patterns of Earth's story. Humanity is at another crossroads, and people have taken the negative pathway almost every single time. What if it's different this time? The world is on fire, but what if people got together and say, enough is enough, let's do something different? It would be insane to continue doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and expecting a different result. It's like, let's repeat what the French did during the Revolution and storm the Bastille, and we'll behead, this monarch and their woman. And that doesn't work. I was alive during that time. I had 2 different lifetimes overlapping one another. I was a lady in waiting to Marie Antoinette. She was not a bad person. She wasn't somebody that was mean, but she was a bit self-absorbed, and she neglected the needs of other people. That was an issue. But it did not warrant putting her to the guillotine and beheading her. And the connection between France and Austria, that was in the balance of things. I was in France and I was in Vienna, Austria, at the same time that all this stuff was going on. And as a woman, I felt for people. I had empathy. I had compassion. I knew that things were not right, but you couldn't solve anything with violence. And I knew that because violence only beget more violence. Because when people have something to be mad about, then they have a reason to cause hurt to another person. Then that person has a reason to cause hurt. Don't give people a reason. And that was something Allura brought up in one of her videos. Do not give somebody a reason to feel a certain way about themselves, about life. And that's what negativity does. It gives people a reason. It gives them a reason to think why they can't be happy. And why they have to create new labels just so they can feel like they have a place to belong, because nobody else wants to accept them. That's why all these labels get made. Oh, I'm bisexual. Oh, I'm pansexual. Oh, I'm genderqueer. Oh, I'm a transgendered individual. Oh, I don't belong anywhere. I don't know where I belong. That's why all these labels get made, because people are looking for somewhere to belong, and they don't belong in places where it's all nothing but stereotypes. They don't fit in those boxes. But why make more boxes? Then you get the same problem where you're giving all your power to an authority, the government, the church, because people are so divided amongst themselves that they don't just get up and say, hey, the world sucks as it is right now, let's do something different, so people don't have to feel like they need to make up reasons as to why their existence is valid. That negativity gives people a reason why they have to fight, why they have to struggle, why they have to be a certain way just to get by. Don't give people a reason to carry such a heavy burden. And so when I found out that Marie Antoinette was beheaded, I felt bad because I knew she was not a bad person. And her husband inherited the baggage that his father left him. And how can you sort out the mess that your dad made for you? Like, how can you sort it all out? Especially when you got people working behind you that don't want things to be fixed because they have an agenda where they just want something to go a certain way because they like how it is. They don't care about the common man. As Beethoven, I cared about people, but I felt very disconnected from them. I felt alienated. And I felt like who I was as a person was distinctly separated from them, not because I wanted it that way, but because people often viewed me in such a way that it made me feel like I could never be one of them. And my pursuit in, basically working with the upper class was so that I could earn my daily bread. Because I had financial obligations. And I still had some level of obligations to my family. To my brothers. Not so much my dad, who died, and I didn't want to go to his funeral because he was rotten. He was a rotten individual. He was the same man that I had in a lifetime when I was in Assyria as a prince. Same man, same exact person who defined who I was to become, where I was to go, and how he was going to do it. Everything was according to his plan, and none of it was of my own volition. And similar thing happened to me as a musician. It was all his plan, a destiny he made for me, and I followed it. And then so when I started losing my hearing, I was forced to withdraw from the external and go inward, because I had to get to know where I wanted to go and not let somebody define my path for me. I actually do have fortune cookies. I like Chinese food. Who doesn't? I suppose somebody out there doesn't like Chinese food, or perhaps is a connoisseur of taste. But I have a fortune cookie. It says, follow the rhythm of your own life, not someone else's. I don't know if you could see it here. Follow the rhythm. It's like up there. Yeah, it's dark. It's like miserable lighting. You either get like this hot spot right here, where if I put my head under there, it looks like I either have a good idea, or I'm about ready to get a lobotomy. So, anyway, fortune cookies are part of my deal, and I'm writing a book in which I want to include some of that in there, because I'm a person that pays attention. I don't tune out from reality. I don't choose comfort. I seek to know things better. I'm not always capable of interacting with people in such a way that it doesn't, unintentionally push them away. Sometimes I'm a little too direct at moments, especially if I'm making a comment in the comment section. Sometimes I'm a little bit too straightforward, and people think I'm being a jerk. And it's like, no, I'm not being a jerk. I'm not a mean person. Sometimes I get a little bit stuck in how I think about things. But we need dialogue. We need conversations between us as people, because we're not supposed to live as an isolated species. Although we're not exactly an ant colony either, because ants very much, work for the greater of the whole, but human beings don't often think about that. They don't often think about the greater whole of where things are meant to go. And that's what I think is great about Native people in the Americas, the indigenous people in Americas. There is a sense that people understand that their actions in the moment can very well impact people 7 generations into the future. And we have to get into that train of thought of saying, if I choose to do something now, what kind of impact is it going to have on future generations? And people don't think of it. They just want the instant gratification of just being like, I got something worked out and it's good for me. But they don't think about the next person that's following after them. And this is what happens when you get different kingdoms. The current dictator or monarch, emperor, whoever, president, doesn't think about what's happening to people a few generations down the line. They're only thinking about what their agenda is at the moment and what they want to see happen. Now, different levels of corruption happen because people are bought with money, or they're bought with sexual favor, quid pro quo. It happens in so many different things, and you're not supposed to have a conflict of interest. But people have conflicts of interest all the time. People get in relationships at work. That creates a conflict of interest because now you're muddying the boundaries. Are you able to do a good job and be non-partial if your main squeeze starts doing things that are not good for the whole? This is how people compromise themselves. They don't maintain integrity. And as a person that wrote Ecclesiastes, the Psalms and Proverbs, under the guidance of Jewish leaders, of course, integrity is such a big thing. If somebody's going to throw their integrity away because they want a couple $100, that person didn't have any integrity to begin with. They're just too shallow. People who are supposed to be servants of the public should not be able to be bought. They can't be bought. They're servants. No servant should be able to be bribed. No servant should be able to be promised to have an executive position with a major firm or company or, Nobody should be able to be bought if they are a servant of the people. The moment somebody creates a conflict of interest saying, but I want that $250,000 so I can have that mansion, that person sold out because that was within them the entire time. When a person can be bought, that says more about who they actually are than what they were trying to pretend to be. If somebody's trying to pretend to have integrity just to get your vote, and they go around and stab you in the back and say, hey, no, I'm just pretending. What I really wanted was this yacht, this mansion, this big paycheck. It's like, have you had any discernment? Have you had any integrity on your end to make sure you're not going to get fleeced by somebody that didn't have integrity to begin with? And this is the thing that we have with the Orange Man. People thought, oh, he said a lot of good things. And he made a lot of promises. And it made it sound really good to a lot of people. And then they bit that carrot and they were taken on this wild ride where they find out their lack of discernment and integrity, their lack of righteousness, their lack of being morally upright, their lack of sense, their ignorance was used against them. And what's going to happen to the Orange Man? Because there's another king in the shadows, and he's always been there. No monarchy, no dictatorship, no kingdom is ever ruled directly by the person at the seat of the throne. It's always ruled by whoever's in the shadow. And it's how they avoid being assassinated. It's how they avoid public scrutiny. It's how they avoid having their plans being blown out of the water and thrown into the light. It's how they're able to manipulate people. Is you manipulate people from working in the shadow. So what's going to happen when this charming figure steps forward and starts making a lot of sense to a bunch of people that found themselves, in a position where they had somebody persecute them. They had somebody, encourage hate crimes against them, where it's all setting up. Do you not realize how easily manipulated people can be? This is why I want to start a revolution, but we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it through music. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what playing level you have. I am garbage at piano. And I made it clear. I posted videos about it. I have no talents at the piano whatsoever. I decided to play bassoon. You look at these fingers. These fingers played the bassoon. These fingers have not played the piano. I have not gotten terribly good at it. Although I could play different keys. But, I'm not warmed up, and I have like tension here from my job, and I got tension here from my job because I work at a trucking company because I somehow need to have money to make ends meet. And at the same time, it's going to end up destroying my body unless I find a better way. God did tell me to get into piano. So, here's my proposition. I started composing something. It's on here. It's not the greatest thing. It's simple. And it reflects the sensibilities of my lifetime currently. It is not going to be very much Beethoven because that's not who I am. That man was defined by his father. So it's going to be, if you think more closer to late Beethoven, where music just starts getting weird, it's a little closer to me than it was to, his dad's wishes, my dad's wishes. So it's going to be more about feeling, more about the mood. Not so much the theory, but I want to know more of the theory because there is a language that I want to understand again. Because when you can understand a language so well that you know how the rules work, that you know how structures can go together and how you could extrapolate information and to, expand upon information and to be able to like boil it down and make it more minimal. That's what music theory is for. Music theory is to teach you, more of the mechanics of a thing. But it's not to define what you're able to do. People think this is happy, but why is it happy? And then it's like, is there any science? That's really nice. But then you just start messing around because all these notes just form colors. It's like painting. You just got to know how the colors work together. It's like you learn a little bit of color theory because then it helps you to do a better painting because you now have an understanding of how the colors work together. So you're not getting poop brown when you're just because you're mixing colors haphazardly. And it's the same with music. I don't know. It's similar with music. It's like you learn how to paint with the colors of the wind, and here you go. So everybody, pick an instrument, make music, write poetry, do whatever. I wrote a poem in here. Start a revolution where we could start transmitting ideas through a creative medium, especially positive ideas, please, because we got to do something different. And I thought about my own poem. I wrote a poem here. So here's my poem. So beyond this door, a secret to explore. Beyond this door, it could be treasures or it could be gore. Do you dare to cross the threshold? Do you dare to take this quest? Do you dare to enter this dark forest to conquer this bold test? I'm gonna have to change that because I do like that scheme right there that I just said there. So heed the call from beyond the seal. Hear this melody. Let it fill thee with zeal. Beyond this door, a destiny untold. Beyond this door, wild stories unfold. And I gotta give credit to a lovely gentleman at Drip Minis for helping me to understand more of the possibilities that music has. You know, this is a man that showed me a song by Igor, and I was just like, ugh. Love. What is love? Love is Igor. Go listen to some Igor. Because music has so many possibilities. Why limit it to what's commercialized? Why limit it to what makes a profit? It's like, no, just do whatever. And I'm going to have to make an edit to myself because I like having the 3 there. Do you dare? So I'm going to make a little squiggly do. And just make that a note. And I'm not telling you what I'm composing for this music, but I did read you my poetry so you have an idea of what I'm doing and how my process is going to unfold. So think about it. Write something, play something, improvise something, do some poetry, you know, do something different and start transmitting ideas, especially positive ones. Start a revolution. If you got a YouTube channel, let's start a trend. So let's start a trend where you're just doing something that's cool, that's fun, that's positive. Let's manipulate the algorithm and we'll turn the tide, because there's a lot of BS that gets promoted. You know, AI slop, fake news, just to make people angry about things that aren't even true. Fake, you know, interviews between certain political figures and people that are giving them too much space on the platform to begin with. Do something different. And if you make something in response to this video, get my attention somehow, you know, like say, hey, check out this video, like leave a comment, leave a link, tag me somehow, and we'll just keep going. We'll treat this as like an experiment, because we're gonna have to push boundaries. We're gonna have to tread into unknown territory, beyond the door, beyond the threshold, into the wild, the great unknown, and we're gonna have to see what kind of good we can do as a human collective. And that's what I want to see on YouTube. Can we change how things work by working together? Let's go!